Hi, I'm Kelly McNeill. I'm a leadership and development coach, and like you, I am a woman in transition, and that is my focus as a coach, to work with women in transition on all levels, emotional, spiritual, professional. I'm here today with John Beethan to have a conversation about what I do.
That was a great start, by the way.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
I know. I can tell you really know who you are.
Yeah, I'm working on it. I'm like everyone,
Well, I think we're
work
always,
in progress.
Yeah, we're always working on it. Mm-hmm. But part of the reason you're here, actually, and I invited you in here, was because in speaking with you, I've met a lot of quote-unquote people that say they're life coaches. Mm-hmm. But honestly, I just think there's a whole lot of people that have no business calling themselves a life coach. You're an exception, I think.
Thank you.
So let's talk a little bit about your background, like where you're born and stuff. You said you're from here.
Yeah. Grew up in Escondido, California.
Nice.
Yeah. Palomar Hospital.
Oh, and do you remember the room number?
Oh, gosh, no. I know my dad doesn't. I think I was the first child in my family, youngest of 5, where he actually could be in the room.
Oh, really?
Oh,
that's fun.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
Yeah, so that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
So then a little bit about the path that took you to coaching?
Sure, yeah. So I got my BA in psychology many moons ago, and always knew that I kind of wanted to get back to that space of helping people better understand themselves, develop themselves, feel good about their space in the world. But I also knew that I needed to have some life experience before I really dove into it.
It's sort of key, huh?
Yeah, it was for me. It was for my own confidence and ability, and just to really kind of wrap my arms around the kind of coach that I wanted to be. So got into sales, was successful in sales for many years and enjoyed it. And it kind of came to a point where I knew that I wasn't really getting the fulfillment out of it that I needed anymore. And coincidentally, my in-laws were both coaches. They were executive level coaches. And they told me, this is something that you'd be great at. You should really consider exploring this path as opposed to going back into psychotherapy, which was my original love.
Oh, really? What area of that?
Well, I wanted to be a therapist. I wanted to go on and get my PsyD and, be in the chair and listen to people's problems and diagnose and all that stuff. But
that's actually a great background to have, though.
Yeah, it is.
For anything.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, just the understanding of the human, emotion and, motivation is a dynamic. And that is really, I feel like, what is the focus of that kind of field. But, what I knew for myself is just that I had this. I'm not really great at small talk. I never have been. I really love to have those soulful, meaningful, deep conversations with people.
Oh, we'll get there.
Yeah. That's why I originally was drawn to you. I know that because that's you in a nutshell.
It's amazing
John.
What can happen over a cup of coffee.
Exactly. Huh? Yeah, it's beautiful. And that's it. I mean, it's having those connections with people and understanding right off the bat that this is somebody that I can connect with.
Yeah.
And I thought, if there's a way for me to be able to find that for someone, to help them discover that within themselves, how to connect with that real soulful, meaningful part of them and get past all of the BS and the, frivolous small talk.
That makes no difference.
It makes no difference. It's great. It's a way for us to connect on a very instantaneous level, but I don't know, it doesn't wake me up in the morning. And I feel like in order to have those connections with people, you got to be able to do that. And there's a lot of people that can't do it. So if there is a way that I can help people understand how to do that for themselves, how to get to know that part of themselves, and then have those connections with their world and their community, that was what really drove me to coaching. So that was kind of my motivation. Yeah,
and it sounds like if you're coming from sales, then you probably have some communication skills as well.
Yeah, I think, I feel like we are who we are, and that's why I was drawn to psychology in my undergrad work. That's why I was drawn to selling things to people, because I just honestly didn't really care what I was selling. I just wanted to create those connections and those conversations and those relationships. So I feel like also there's a piece in there around just kind of curiosity about life and about people and how we interact. I come from a line of FBI agents, which sounds...
Oh my gosh. Yeah, you didn't tell me that.
No. It sounds a little off track, but I really do feel like there's this detective quality about, wanting to connect. My dad was an agent. My grandpa was an agent. And
that's fun.
Yeah. And they just, they were those people in my world that really cared about what was going on outside of like their sphere. Mm-hmm. Their process was a lot different than mine. Mm-hmm. But I do feel like there's a detective quality within me about figuring out what's going on with
investigation.
Mm-hmm, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, investigating. So after being in sales and management for about 20 years, I decided that it was my time to explore other avenues. I had some really intense experiences. I have a near-death experience.
Oh, yeah. Can you talk about that?
Sure, yeah. I had, my husband and I did amazing things. We traveled, we explored the world, and when we finally decided, okay, let's stop being selfish and start getting real about what we're going to do next, and hey, maybe kids are a great idea. Yeah. We decided to do that, but there were some complications. So I had to have a surgery, and it was meant to be a very straightforward procedure, in and out, no issue, just out, the same day I'll be home in bed and everything will be dandy. And it didn't go that way. I ended up having an internal bleed that no one caught for, about 5 hours. So, I was post-surgery in the recovery room and just they couldn't stabilize me. My heart rate was up and down, and every time I tried to sit up, I'd get sick. And finally, someone checked my hemoglobin levels and found that I'd lost about half the blood in my body. So I was,
That's dangerous.
Yes, it was. Yeah. And terrifying. I had absolutely no idea. So I was being rushed to Pomerado Hospital in the ambulance and feeling literally like an elephant was sitting on my chest, like just this intense pressure. Mm-hmm. And it was because I had such a small amount of blood trying to circulate through my body to keep me alive. And my doctor was there, the EMT was there with the crash cart on the ready in case I did have a heart attack. And I remember my doctor just holding my hand, and every time I would close my eyes to pray, he would say, "Stay with me, Kelly." And I was just trying to pray and like kind of be present. But in those moments when I was praying, I remember bargaining with God about, I'll be a better person, I'll pay more attention, I will drink less wine. Whatever I needed to do.
Drink less wine?
Drink less wine.
And what was it, white or red?
Oh gosh, I don't know.
Did it not make a difference? Okay.
Being from San Francisco for a long period of time, there's too much good wine around there. So, obviously I recovered and it turned out to be just fine. But waking up in the recovery room, I realized that, I wasn't doing what I wanted to do. And I was really aware of my mortality for the first time. And the fact that I needed to make some big changes and get better connected with what my purpose was on this planet and what I'm good at. And
so how did you discover what your purpose was? What talk to us a little bit about that. So
I touched on the fact that my in-laws were both coaches. Mm-hmm. Then they had told me so often I should try doing this. So after this experience in the hospital, I didn't just land back to coaching. It took me a couple years to prepare and to start emotionally and professionally creating an environment where we could live on one salary for a while I was getting my education around coaching. Mm-hmm. And I could emotionally leave this prosperous and place where I really connected to what I did for a living and I was really good at it. And I got a lot of confidence from there. And resetting and deciding I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm not going to be this superstar salesperson anymore. Now I'm going to reset and do something that brings me more value. Mm. So,
and were you having children at this time?
Yeah. So it was in 2013. I had my first son. I decided I can't leave him for these extended periods of time to go do something that doesn't fulfill me anymore. Mm. If I'm going to be leaving this child, it needs to be for something that really matters. So that was the big epiphany. And I decided that I'm going to try to do this. I'm going to go to the first course within the curriculum at CTI, Coaches Training Institute, and just kind of try it out, see what happens. Did that, fell in love with it, and then took the next 4 courses, went through the certification program, and 2 years later, I was a certified coactive coach.
Nice. So you basically did the work.
I did the work.
Yeah. Which I alluded at the top of the program here that, a lot of people don't do the work. Mm-hmm. They just think, they have some sort of experience and
they wake up tomorrow and they decide that they really like people, so they should be a coach.
Yeah.
I mean, and everyone comes to this differently, not to say
I know.
that there is a right or wrong path. And I think everyone's work looks different, but that's the work that I needed. I've always been a very scholastic person. I've always loved school. I love learning, and that was the path that worked well for me.
Yeah.
And I also had a lot of life experience behind me too. So it kind of married well with where I wanted to land.
So any other life experiences that you think led you this way or you consider to be a resource as a coach?
Well, I've had a lot of struggles.
What kind of struggles? I mean,
there's a lot of addiction in my family. Mm-hmm. And just managing that and my expectations around what those relationships are meant to look like, my father and my brother, and a lot of medical issues for myself and for my family. I've had some autoimmune issues. My daughter has type 1 diabetes, and she's only 2 years old. So navigating these things have helped me realize that we're all human, and we all have our own stories that we're trying to just push through and manage well. And it's really helped me to get a better lens on humanity and to not judge. If someone doesn't look like me or act like me, I have no idea what struggles they're working with.
None of us can ever possibly know what another person is suffering with or suffering themselves with or victimized or we just don't know.
Exactly.
And to me, that's
so true.
Yeah, to me that's a reason to stay compassionate.
I
have no reason to judge the man in the wheelchair.
No.
None whatsoever. He could be having a great life.
Yeah.
I mean, he could be getting a check from the government or what. I mean, it could be, we just don't know.
We don't know. Yeah. He could be at the apex of his, personhood.
Yeah.
But he's just not as capable, quote unquote, as, we think. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's really opened up so much, not just my own experiences, but the experiences that I've had with my clients, connecting with people of all shapes, sizes, colors, genders, everything you can imagine, and knowing that at the core, we're all trying to do the same thing. We're all just trying to live our best life and come out the other side as successful as we can.
Mm-hmm. Success, what does that mean to you?
Doing good in the world and making it a better place than when I arrived.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, making a difference. Mm-hmm. I'm not Mother Teresa. I'm not trying to save the world, but I think we all have the capacity and the ability to every day make the world a better place.
I totally agree. I mean, one of my images that I really like is taking a lemon and turning it into a lemon pie.
Ah, I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you have a case or two, a coaching case or two that you could talk about that would give me a sense for somebody that maybe found themselves or helped turn it around or even somebody that said, you know what, thank you very much, Kelly, but I realize this isn't for me. I want to become a pianist or something.
No, I love that question. Yeah, so I do. I mean, I have many to draw from, but there's one specific client who was a searcher, and she's actually still a client of mine. Lovely woman, lovely professional, had accomplished so much in her life, but just didn't feel seen, didn't feel heard, felt like her voice was stifled, and she couldn't figure out why. And we've been working together for many years. And though I am a coach and I sit with my clients, and it is a very coactive relationship, meaning that we meet each other at the same level.
That's a byline of your business, isn't it?
It is, yeah. So I'm not a therapist. I'm not the professional. I'm not the specialist of their life. Mm-hmm. So
I really like that.
Yeah, and we're on the same level. I'm learning about their life as they share it with me, and we're walking the path together to discover what's next for them and help prepare that piece for them. And that's what we were doing together. And a lot of stuff came up for her around her past, with her experience with her mom, abuse she'd had as a child. And I can't really touch specifically on that because I'm not trained in psychoanalysis. So all we could do is have conversations around it. But over the years, I saw her just blossom into this understanding of, I don't have to be limited by my own negative self-talk. I can blossom and be whoever I want to be. There's no definition to what my future is going to hold based off my experiences of the past. And that came from, having a lot of conversations around the negative talk that she has, her, what I call internal saboteurs, and how to name them, create them, make them a real metaphor, a physical experience, and then create some type of an activity around how do you say, get out of my life. Make sure that they understand how to do that.
I typically call those people or those entities or properties an inside job.
Oh, I like that.
You may steal it from me.
I might have to.
That's an inside job.
That's good. Well, that's because, there is a lot around terminology with clients because saboteurs could sound a little too hooey-gooey to people.
Yeah, but there's a lot of people I know that self-sabotage.
Yes.
And many people do through the talk we're talking. Yeah. The monkey mind, I think is what some people call it.
The gremlin. We all have it. Even the most, self-realized person has that negative inside saboteur or gremlin or inside jobber.
So what do you do when that little gremlin comes out in you?
Oh.
Is there a little technique you do?
Yeah, I can tell you. She's a tricky one.
She's
a tricky one.
Does she have a name? You don't have to tell us what it is because then you don't want to get emails with, hey.
Right. Yeah. We'll call her C.
Okay.
Her name is C. And she's beautiful, redhead. She's got everything together. She's in her business suit. She has it lined up, very prim and proper. And she's very confident. And she looks at me in my mom jeans, getting my Starbucks, just trying to start my day and figure out how to clear the cobwebs. And she just thinks, oh, she's so pathetic. So I actually had a coaching session around this once. And do you remember Shrinky Dinks? Did you ever?
Yes.
Yeah. So like little plastic molds that you color and then stick in the toaster oven and they shrink up, right?
Yeah.
So I created a Shrinky Dink of her so that I could step on her every time I have this experience. So miraculously, she's not as much with me anymore. I used to carry her around in my pocket most times so that I would always have the ability to throw her out and step on her.
Or eat her.
Yeah. Or exactly. Somehow it annihilate her. Yeah. But yeah, she, happily, she's not with me that much anymore. Yeah. I feel like I'm starting to kind of exercise her out of my life.
So my technique on that is, whether it's true or not, I do think and believe that most of us have two voices. One has a tendency to be somewhat harsh, and one has a tendency to be kind. And I literally reach my arm out and turn the volume down on the harsh one so you can't hear it. And turn the volume up on the one that is just like gentle, compassionate, loving, and supportive. That's what I do.
That's fantastic.
That's one little...
That might be another one I have to steal from you.
That's fine.
I'll get you some Shrinky Dinks, and you can steal that from me, too.
Okay, good.
Tit for tat.
That works for me.
Great.
So another client that with unexpected results?
Yeah, well, kind of the polar opposite. Not necessarily opposite, but a different type of result. I had a client, and this does happen, where I'll have someone come to me with a problem that might be a little too intense, where I feel like the services that I can provide don't serve their need. So I had a client that I was seeing for several months, and there were some things that just kind of kept popping up around their past. And there was obvious abuse that hadn't been dealt with. And I knew that what they needed to really focus in on was how to really psychoanalyze their life and have a professional that's able to do that. So I had a conversation with them and said I would love to continue coaching, but what I know you need is a therapist. You need to see a psychoanalyst because you need to dive into this past experience. I would love to continue coaching you, but I need to make sure that you can financially do both of these things. And she ended up leaving me and going to psychoanalysis because she could not afford to do both. She did come back after about 18 months, and we had a couple more sessions, and it was incredible to see where she had kind of been able to create, like the world that she'd been able to create for herself based off of the work that she had done on herself.
Nice.
Which is so much the pinnacle of what I do. I can coach all day long, but if people don't put in the work, if they just show up to the session and then hang up the phone or leave my office and decide, okay, good, check that off the list.
Yeah.
If they don't do the work between sessions, then it's not even worth doing.
Right. Therapist I worked with for many years. I mean, his thing was, don't really want to work with you unless you really want to make a change. And in order to make the change, it's going to take some work.
Yes.
So he didn't do social therapy like so many people do, you know.
Oh, I like that term. Yeah.
Yeah, social therapy where it's just like for 12 years you're sitting with a therapist and nothing really changes. That wasn't his thing. So he had a tendency to be kind of brutal, but it got a shift in me.
Yeah, that's what you have to do. I think as a coach and as a coachee, you need to be ready to engage in those types of really difficult conversations.
Yeah.
Where you kind of get kicked in the pants sometimes and you get held to your word. The accountability piece in coaching, I think, is really the most powerful part of the entire relationship. And
it can be the most loving thing you can offer someone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tough love, I think, is what some people call it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, your friends aren't going to hold you to your word the way that a coach will.
Yeah.
They just won't. And that's what my clients need.
So who typically finds you? And I'm going to say find you because it's easy to imagine that, I mean, we live in a world where, you know, the internet's really important and social media and all that stuff, but I'm imagining kind of like I met you and felt, there's something different here. Let's find out. So what kind of people typically, what kind of people find you? I mean, who do you work with? What's really common? Mostly women, right?
Yes. My primary focus is women in transition. So I've worked with divorce attorneys, which kind of sounds like an interesting path to go down, but that's a huge transition, for women. And that's been really, really incredible for me to help people in that
incredible
place.
How?
To see women come out the other side and take back their power, understand that they still have so much to give the world, even in this place where they feel broken and alone, and to help them realize how valuable and strong and forceful their presence can still be, even more so. Because having those experiences and having those real impactful transitions that feel like they're ground shaking, you come out the other side of that, and I promise you are going to be more interesting, more creative, more capable than you were before. That can be a real positive, life-changing experience. So that's been a wonderful place for me to help, to find people.
Yeah, and the divorce rate, as I understand, is like 50%.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah,
I don't feel like it wavers much from there. I keep checking back on it, and I think it's gone from like 48 to 51.
Oh, really?
It's pretty right on.
Yeah, and something's not right there.
Yeah.
And let me ask you, what do you think it might be?
Well, I mean, gosh, I remember.
Just a guess.
Yeah, I asked this one man once, like we all do when we meet elderly couples that are still married, like, how do you make it work? And he told me, and he was like an old codger. Yeah. He said, just don't get divorced.
Yeah.
So there's that of just not giving up. But I really honestly think that it's just stopping trying. It's not connecting anymore on either side. And you can't control what the other person is doing. But at some point, there's one person that stops trying to connect. And I think it can have a domino effect. Mm-hmm. Life is long and life is hard, and there are so many obstacles that we're going to come up against. And we grow and we change as humans, and it's a big ask for us to grow and change together as a couple. Mm-hmm. So you got to put in a ton of work.
Mm-hmm. I also think it's often individuation is not been in consideration.
Right.
So when people get together, it's usually often, if you're young, it's a physical, chemical thing. Mm-hmm. And we have a tendency to be way too lenient with the person that we meet, which crops up later when you go, I actually don't like this.
Right. It's not just, an evening. It's a life partner.
Yeah. But it's the individuation. At some point, it's like, you just got to maintain your independence.
Yeah.
Know who you are.
I think that's so true. And it's really kind of creating that structure and the communication to let the other person know, I celebrate you as an individual. We don't need to be everything to each other.
Right.
It's impossible to be everything to each other. You can't ask your spouse to be everything. You need other people. You need a support network. Mm-hmm. You need people that you can go to for other parts of your life that partner, that husband or wife can't necessarily give you. Mm-hmm. It's too much to put on one person's shoulders.
It is. Yeah. So what other kind of transitions do you help people with? Divorce is one. Mm-hmm.
Change in job. Either, going to that next level. I think as women, we still struggle with the concept of asking for what we want and what we need and what we're worthy of. Mm-hmm. There's still a huge pay gap that we need to rectify. Mm-hmm. But just having the ability to have the voice and the language around going to your boss, asking for a promotion, asking for what that next step is for you. So that's something that I really enjoy doing, is kind of giving those words, helping those clients find that specific language to empower them to get to that next level, or at least get to the ask. And if it doesn't come back to them, if they don't get it, hey, maybe it's not the right company for you. Mm-hmm. Or perhaps going back to work after being home with kids for a while.
Oh, yeah.
That's a huge transition, especially in our neck of the woods here in Southern California.
What about younger women coming out of college or university?
Yeah.
Have you had any of those experiences? Because that's a pretty abrupt transition.
Yeah, it sure is. I've coached one person that was actually the daughter of one of my clients. Mm-hmm. She didn't really seem ready for it. Not to say that that's not a very ripe area of people that need that coaching. Mm-hmm. It hasn't been my primary focus, so I can't really speak to it. But I would love to work with those people because, I just love their energy. Millennials are a little older at this point, but I've been able to work with several millennials, and that's been just so much fun. They're so energetic. They love life. They want to be a part of what's going on, and they want to learn. Mm-hmm. This just next generation coming up is kind of an anomaly. I think we're all still trying to figure out what their space is going to look like. But no, I think that, I would love to work with young women that are trying to find their voice and figure out what's next for them coming out of college.
And if it was 5 years down the road, what would you like to be doing?
5 years down the road, I would love to have some type of, in conjunction with my own coaching practice, some type of a pro bono program where I work with women that have perhaps suffered abuse, that are trying to find their voice again. My life purpose statement that I created when I was in my curriculum at CTI was, I am a vibrant badass that champions voice.
Badasses. We like badasses. No, we do. Comes up a lot in conversations I have with some of the other women I work with, actually.
Oh, I love projects. It. You gotta get to know these women.
Yeah. Maela Manassine is one. She's an environmentalist. We just started a podcast called Tiny Climate Challenge.
Oh, very cool.
She was introduced to me as a badass from Ashley Mazanik at Let's Talk About the Weather podcast. Oh, you got to meet, she wants to podcast. She's a badass. Okay, great. So so you're a badass and everybody, that's fun.
Nice. Good. I'm in good company.
You're very good company.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's what I would do. I would love to have the capability and the freedom to just donate my time to women that need to find their own internal badass. They need to get back connected with their strength and their power.
And you said their voice.
Yes, their voice.
To ask for what they want, to say who they are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To figure that out.
Well, with the political climate and the likes of people like AOC, Alexander. Okay, so I follow her a lot. And I mean, another badass.
Uh-huh.
Anybody else out there? Do you have any mentors that you look up to?
So many.
Oh gosh, yeah, that was a big long pause. That was not a skip in the tape.
No, sorry. So many. Yeah, no, Ruth Bader Ginsburg is, she's just incredible. All the obstacles that she experienced growing up and through her career and, coming out where she is today, she is still just a bad ass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you see her movie?
I did. Yes, I did.
It
was really good. Yeah, it was really well done.
Any others?
Yeah, I've been lucky enough to have some really good professors that helped to shape my world. And also family members. My mother-in-law is incredible. She was actually one of my teachers during my coaching curriculum.
Nice.
And my sisters. I'm the youngest of 5. And
you're the youngest of 5?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. I'm the youngest of 3.
Oh my gosh, no kidding.
By 8 minutes. I have a twin sister.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so cool.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, we have to talk about that.
Yeah.
So I have 3 sisters and 1 brother, and they are all incredible humans. I'm very, very lucky to have been able to have a family that I really appreciate and respect.
Nice.
And they've taught me so much about how to be a strong human and about how to be a strong woman and navigate the world and not take any BS from anybody about who I want to be and what I want to do.
So I think I already got the answer to the question earlier, but if there was one defining moment in your life where everything changed, what was it?
I think even though I've dealt with some very difficult medical concerns, I really think the defining moment for me was when I had my son. Yeah. I have 2 children. I have Benjamin and Megan. And Megan is incredible. And oh my gosh, she makes my world just light up. The best hugger in the world. But as a parent, I feel like the first time you experience parenthood, it is life-altering. Being the youngest of 5 kids and just being who I am, I've always been very self-absorbed. It's been my life. Where am I going? What's the next adventure? How am I going to get there? And, who do I need to engage with to make this happen? And what friends can I bring along to make the journey even that much more fun?
Nice.
But having a baby and realizing that it's not about you anymore is so incredible. And in many ways, I just have to exhale because it feels like, okay, it's not about me anymore. And that's incredible. I can finally stop paying so much attention to me and focus all my energy on this other little human.
You can stop driving yourself crazy.
Yeah. And also that I think having that lens of focusing on him and now Megan too, it creates this compassion in me where I can focus on other people and other humans and other individuals' problems.
So besides that, what have each of them taught you?
Oh my gosh. Patience.
I'm sure, patience.
Yes. Patience and how to explain things.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like I felt I was a good teacher. Like I could explain things, but until you have children, you don't know how easily you can confuse people. How to really get to basics and help them understand this is what I need. This is what I'm seeing from you. Just replaying what's happening in their world. So teaching, that's a huge thing that I've learned from my kids. And they teach me too, because they feed back and they mirror back what I'm telling them.
Yeah.
So my little one, Megan, she loves to dance around and go, awesome, awesome, awesome. And her other big thing is, I love it, I love it. And I realized I say those two things very much. So maybe I should kick up my vernacular a little bit.
Yeah, I guess I'll end up publicly saying it here, but year and a half ago, people would say, oh, do you have any kids? And I would jokingly say, or maybe not jokingly to some people, not that I know of. Okay, well, about a year ago, this last March, I got, it's a long story I'm not going to go into, but I got a series of emails that basically with a young woman that introduced herself as my biological daughter.
Wow.
And she said why she thought that was true, and it was like absolutely true. So I spent 2 days with my monkey mind going, do I need to get a DNA test? What does she want from me and all this? And I suffered myself for 2 days, and I couldn't really keep my mind on work whatsoever. So the third morning I woke up just completely different, going, how wonderful is this? You know, my heart just exploded. But the feeling I had, one of the feelings I had, I guess, was I felt like I had another mouth to feed.
Oh, wow.
And I had never experienced that before. So coming from a man's position, so that's just like one emotion. Mm-hmm. And we haven't been able to really connect very well. And she lives in Vancouver, British Columbia. So, I miss her. We've had some wonderful conversations, but I haven't talked to her for about a year now. She's hasn't been real available. So, but I get it. When you have children, everything can change.
Gosh,
and the focus comes off. Yeah, the focus comes, the focus for that one morning came completely off me, and oh my God, open heart, it was just wonderful.
Wow.
So I'm not done with all that yet.
No, you sound like you have a lot to explore there.
I do.
You need to get out to Vancouver.
I do. Mm-hmm. I do. So, what is if there was one thing that you think people need to hear, what would it be?
About me or about the world?
Whatever.
Anything?
You choose. You can talk about your favorite ice cream. I don't care.
Mint chocolate chip, of course.
Well, we got that, but could you go a little deeper?
Well, I think that what I want to do in the world, and what I feel like is the most important thing, is for people to be compassionate with each other and to help develop each other. Selfishness has no place, and we're in this incredibly difficult climate right now, politically, where there's so much divide, and everyone feels as though they're so different from their neighbor based off of who they voted for or who they're supporting. And it's just a really terrifying and sad place to be. If we could just take that apart, peel off that layer of political choice, and get to the core of the fact that we are all humans. We all just want to be loved and to feel success in our life and to feel like we're doing good, and connect with that piece of your neighbor and help them develop that part of themselves. That's what I think would make this world a better place. And that's what I hope everybody wants to do at their core. Yeah.
I think what lacks is curiosity.
Oh, it's so true.
I just, I lived in Santa Fe, New Mexico most of my adult life. And so I was a minority. It was mostly Hispanic. I prefer to say Latino and American Indian. And the white man was the minority. And so, so for me, I got to walk in another man's moccasins, and so around here in California, it's like everybody seems to have the lawn guy or something. Yeah. Who most of the time doesn't speak very good English, but I love spending time with them.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Strong family values. Oh my God.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's heartbreaking to see how those families are being torn
treated
apart. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it really is. And my father is Hispanic, and we have a long line of both Mexican, Spanish, and American Indian heritage. And to think that I show up and I look like a little white girl because my mom's Irish, but my entire family was definitely treated poorly based off the color of their skin. And now, just because these people are first generation to this country, they're being treated the same way suddenly. And it's not fair. And it doesn't make sense.
Right. And it's not helpful.
No. And it's not unifying.
Yeah.
I don't want to turn this into a political podcast, but, this country was based off people coming here as immigrants. We were the melting pot.
And some of our greatest leaders, inventors, intellectuals, and everything else.
Absolutely.
I don't know anybody in this country that isn't an immigrant.
No.
I'm an immigrant in California. I was born and raised in Portland. I went to Santa Fe. I was an immigrant from Portland while I was in Santa Fe. And then I came down here. I'm still an immigrant. I'm an immigrant. Just because I didn't come from Colombia or Venezuela or Honduras doesn't mean I'm not an immigrant. Exactly. Everybody I know in this country is an immigrant.
Yeah. It's just a matter of how far
back
the line you go. Exactly. Get a grip. We're just human. We're just humans trying to make our way in the world.
Yes. Well, honestly, folks, labels are for pickle jars.
Nice.
Right? They really are.
That's great.
Anything else you want to cover?
No, I think that's it. That's it for me.